So the theory goes is that Lil Uzi Vert sold his soul and he will be leaving this earth at 27 years old. During an interview with Narwhal, he even says this.
Listen here. At age 27, I will leave this earth for this man right here.
Kinda creepy, right? Well, Uzi right now is 26 years old, meaning next year he will leave this earth. And now the scary thing is, recently on Twitter, he tweeted that he's dropping 2 more albums and then he's done with music. So you kinda get what I'm trying to say? To get more into it, he said he is leaving this earth for Maryland Mansion, a known satanic worshiper. So is Uzi joining the infamous 27 Club? What do you guys think? So the theory goes is that Billie Eilish sold her soul. In her song, All Good Girls Go to Hell, it shows her falling from heaven. The devil was also a fallen angel. Then in the video, it shows her to have black wings, black eyes, and fire all around her. This could also be another reference to the devil. After that, in her song, Bury a Friend, she says this. Kinda creepy, right? Now the argument here is this is just her aesthetic, but I don't know. What do you guys think? To disrespect anybody in any shape or way, but the things surrounding his death don't make sense. Like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense at all. So FBG Duck wrote a diss track to King Von called I'm from 63rd. And in this song, FBG Duck says, you a sacrifice, he sent you to get bodied. Basically, he just signed you over to the Illuminati.
You a sacrifice, he sent you to get bodied. Basically, he just signed you over to the Illuminati.
What? No, like, this is what I mean. It's just really eerie. And that FBG Duck is referring to, a lot of people think, is Lil Durk. The big theory is that a lot of these rappers sell their soul for this amount of fame. And one of the biggest examples of this is Lil Uzi Vert. And then on an Instagram Live, he even said himself that he sold his soul, which I was like, what the?
Did I sell my soul? I sold my soul for you. Now figure that out.
Besides Lil Uzi Vert, there seems to be a lot more creepy things going on with other artists. You got the music video Up by Young Thug, where there's a lot of satanic messages and symbolism. You got a pentagram on the girl's face and horns on her head. And then you got an owl in a video, which is one of the main symbols of the Illuminati. Then you got Lil Nas X, who just blew up out of nowhere. He wasn't a one-hit wonder, like, he just blew up and he stays blown up. And there's some music videos where he looks like the devil. Then you got one of the more popular ones, which is Billie Eilish. Where in the music video, All Good Girls Go to Hell, you can see that she has black wings and blacked out eyes, and then fire starts to burn all around her, kinda showing that she is Satan. This is known as one of the most haunted houses in the world. Do not watch if you're easily scared. In November of 2019, a video was uploaded to LiveLeak where a man in Saudi Arabia was gonna buy an abandoned house. But while exploring the property, some really eerie things started to happen. First, the doors started slamming shut by themselves. Then after this, glass started to be thrown at him. And finally, it seems at the end of the video, the chandelier on the ceiling was also about to be thrown at him. What do you guys think? Real or fake? So the theory is that the 27 Club consists of many artists who all died at the age of 27 because they supposedly sold their soul for fame. Some of these artists include Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, and Robert Johnson. It was said back in the 1930s, Robert Johnson was the first member of the 27 Club to sell his soul to gain a lot of this fame. And of course, after that, all the other artists followed him. Well, now there is something called the 21 Club, where many modern rappers died at the age of 21 or around the age 21. These include Juice WRLD, Lil Peep, Pop Smoke, Triple X, and Jimmy Wapo. So is this all a coincidence, or did they sell their soul too? What do you guys think? So there is a big conspiracy going around that artists hide hidden demonic messages in their songs. Now I'm 50-50 on this theory, but let me know what you guys think. In Billie Eilish's song, When the Party Is Over, it supposedly says, I cannot get out. I wish to tell him in hell, I walk in with Satan, help. Then you have Kanye West's song Power that says he's Satan's gospel. Now there's a lot of more other examples, but I'm 50-50 on this, so what do you guys think? Warning, if you are easily scared or watching this at night, I recommend you keep scrolling. You've been warned. It was late at night and 3 teens decided to go explore an abandoned house. Upon entering the house, they see a bunch of satanic symbols on the wall, but decide to keep exploring. They head into the basement and start to smell something horrible, and then they see dolls hung from the ceiling. At this point, they hear a noise, and well, get ready for the rest.
Did you hear that? Oh my God! Go, 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 go! Oh my God!
So in the past week, there was a strange monolith found in Utah, and it was found by a helicopter crew. The monolith was 12 feet tall, about 1,000 pounds, and they had no idea how it got there because of the mountains surrounding it that physically no one could take it there. So what is it, an ancient relic of an ancient civilization, or was it aliens? I mean, this past year in 2020, aliens have been announced to be real. So could it be aliens? And to get even more weird about it, this monolith has been there for over 5 years, and it could have been there longer. So what is it? This is why you should never visit Antarctica. In 1997, there was something recorded there known as the famous bloop. They found out the sound was from a living creature, but they had no idea what that living creature was because the sound was more powerful than any other animal sound on Earth. Then after World War II, Admiral Byrd led 4,000 troops to invade Antarctica. But this led to many unknown deaths and even a missing boat. Many people say they had a battle with UFOs. And they think this because right after Admiral Byrd left Antarctica, he said we need to take immediate defense actions against it. So what do you guys think? Recently, a TikTok was posted where a group of friends went to go see the Alien Monolith in Utah. And if you look in the background, you can see what looks like to be an alien.
Ayo, guess who just drove 15 hours just to...
What the f- Also, where did the monolith go? It disappeared overnight. This is crazy. In 1947, the US government announced they recovered a crashed UFO from a small ranch in Roswell, New Mexico. But then the next day, they said it was a weather balloon, and then a day after that, they said it was some sort of Russian spy device? Well, the farmer who originally found the crashed UFO said he'd seen 3 small bodies that looked identical to each other. But then the government came out and said these bodies were actually test dummies? None of this is making sense. And after this, there was a media blackout, so whoever tried to tell their story about it were immediately silenced by the government. What do you guys think? So the theory goes is that Beyonce sold her soul and she is the queen of the Illuminati. So the symbol of the Illuminati is the triangle in the eye. And Beyonce uses this symbol a lot. And then when she used this symbol at the Super Bowl, the power went out. What? But it's not only her. Her husband Jay-Z also flashes a lot of these symbols too. Like for part 2. So the theory goes is that Kanye West sold his soul for fame and then was brainwashed. In Kanye West's unreleased song Eyes Closed, he says, I sold my soul to the devil like a crappy deal. At least it came with a few toys like a Happy Meal. He even admitted he sold his soul in a concert.
I sold my soul to the devil.
Well, now a lot of people think he was actually brainwashed because during one of his concerts, he called out a lot of the rich and powerful people. And then 2 days later, he was hospitalized and then he kind of turned weird. I'm just saying. What do you guys think? Let's start a conspiracy thread down in the comments. And some of the best ones will be featured in my next YouTube video. So if you want to see if you got featured after you comment, click the link in my bio. So aliens were just confirmed to be real. A retired Israel space security chief just announced there's something called the Galactic Federation, and Earth is a part of it. He even said President Trump knows about it too, so could this kind of explain the Space Force? Though the retired space chief said that humanity is not ready to be exposed to these extraterrestrials. This could possibly explain all the monoliths showing up everywhere and the recent sightings of all the UFOs. What are your guys' thoughts on this? So the theory goes is that Avril Lavigne was killed and replaced by a clone. In 2003, Avril was at the top of her career, but she had many personal issues that were dragging her down. So many people believe she actually took her own life in 2003. But because she was so famous, her record label didn't want to lose out on any money. So they made a clone of her. And before you guys say clones aren't real, they actually cloned sheep like 10 years ago, so they're probably cloning humans already. And for more proof, you could even see the differences between now and then and how different she looks. I mean, there is a huge change from her nose, facial structure, just everything. What do you guys think? So the theory goes is that Lady Gaga is a killer. Before Lady Gaga became Lady Gaga, she had a close friend and collaborator named Lina Morgana, and they worked on many tracks together. But then on October 1st, 2008, Lina committed suicide from jumping from a hotel bedroom window. But the weird thing is her death was never covered by the news, and you figure with someone with this much fame, the news would cover it. So ironically, her fans found out 4 months later when her parents made the statement. So a lot of people think Lady Gaga used her as a blood sacrifice and paid off the media, so no one really found about this until later on. What do you guys think? This is part 1 of the Hello Kitty murder. Do not watch if you're easily scared. So in May of 1994, a 14-year-old girl goes to Hong Kong police and said she was being haunted by a ghost woman who was bound by electrical wire and has been tortured to death. But the police just brush it off and say it's some teenager nonsense. But when the girl mentioned the lady got murdered, then they took an interest and followed the girl back home. And they discovered that the girl was actually telling the truth. They found an oversized Hello Kitty doll, and in the head of the Hello Kitty doll, it was a decapitated skull from a woman. This case was known as the Hello Kitty murder, and it goes down as one of the worst crimes in all of history. This is part 2 of the Hello Kitty murder. Do not watch if you're easily scared. Now the person they found inside the doll was identified as someone named Fan Man Yi. And now this girl, Fan Man Yi, had a horrible history already. She was abandoned by her family as a child. She suffered from very bad drug addiction. She became a prostitute to help her drug addiction. And then at age 23, she became a hostess at a nightclub to again support her drug addiction. So in early 1997, Fan Man Yi met a 34-year-old man named Chan Man Lok. And they instantly started talking because Fan Man Lee was a prostitute and a drug addict, and Chan Man Lok was a pimp and a drug dealer. So as the two became better friends, later in 1997, Fan Man Yi was desperate for money and drugs, so she stole from Chan Man Lok. And in total, she stole $4,000. But little did she know this was going to be the biggest mistake of her life. This is part 3 of the Hello Kitty murder. Do not watch if you're easily scared. So Man Lok found out his money was missing and sent 2 of his henchmen to kidnap Man Yi. The plan was to force her into prostitution until she paid the money back, but then it got really out of hand. Man Lok decided selling her body wasn't enough to pay him back. So they tortured her, beat her, burned her, and a lot of other inhuman things that I'm not even allowed to say on this platform. They did this for over a month and she eventually died of an overdose. So the henchmen took her body and dismembered it with a saw. They cooked the pieces of her body to stop the smell and then threw it all the way in the trash. They saved her head though as some sick joke and then put it in this oversized Hello Kitty doll. Now here's a big plot twist. Remember that 14-year-old girl who originally reported finding the skull in this Hello Kitty doll? Part 4 of the Hello Kitty murder. Do not watch if you're easily scared. Now here's a big plot twist. Remember that 14-year-old girl who originally reported finding the skull in this Hello Kitty doll? Well, she was actually a part of Manlock's gang, but in loose terms, she was actually a prostitute owned by Manlock. She claimed that she had seen Chan Manlock kick Man Yi in the head over 50 times and then decided to join them, and then she started kicking her in the head over 100 times. What? So the police eventually found all this out, arrested everyone involved, and now they are serving jail time for murder. And that is the end of the Hello Kitty case. But if I told you, some people think that the celebrities that live among us are actually reptiles, and that is gonna be our last and final conspiracy. When Justin Bieber had court, and you could see his eye kind of change color and change shape. And now this was on live television, so it's not edited. It was really weird. Here's that video.
See, it just changed right there.
Yeah, what? Then a couple years later after that, Australian headlines blew up when they said they had seen him turning into a reptile. And it was in front of 100 fans, so there's many eyewitnesses that said the same exact thing. Drunk and his eyes went black with a black stripe down the middle. He grew a few feet taller and had gross colored scales all over his body. It happened so fast, but everyone saw it and started screaming and crying. A lot of people were running for the exits. His bodyguard was shouting at us, shouting that he... So the theory goes is that Playboi Carti sold his soul, and it's kinda scary. So he came out with some merchandise to promote his new album, Whole Lotta Red, which is coming out on Christmas Day, so keep this in mind. But his merch has pentagrams all over it, and one of the shirts even has a design of Jesus upside down with his head cut off. Yeah, especially it releasing on Christmas Day, Jesus' birthday, is kinda not good. And to make matters even worse, he even has a pentagram tattoo. But personally, what do you guys think? So the theory goes is that Katy Perry sold her soul. So first let's talk about all the one-eye symbolism she uses in almost every single YouTube video, which is already kinda weird, but here is where it gets darker. In 2014, her Grammy performance was pretty satanic. She's in a dark forest with a red cross on her and fire all around her, and not to mention the witches that are flying all around her. Kinda satanic to me. But let's push that to the side and say that was just all a performance, right? Well, look at this video where she literally says she sold her soul.
But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
What are your guys' thoughts on this? What if I told you the world is going to end in 2021? So there is something known as the Torah Code. It's hidden words within the Hebrew text of Torah, and it's predicted a lot of presidents being elected, a lot of catastrophes, and even the virus. What you do is highlight consistent letters in the text, and it makes something known as an ELS. For example, this ELS contained the Hebrew words Kuf, Resh, Van, and Nun, which means Corona. Now there's a lot more, but the scary thing is, the person who found this had apparently discovered that the texts contain phrases that say, Iran atomic this year. And all I'm saying is lately the tensions with Iran, US, Russia, China, and a bunch of other countries have been getting pretty high. So a possible atomic war could be happening next year. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I'm just saying. What do you guys think about it? And if you guys want to research anything on your own, just look up the Torah Code. The natural bombing just doesn't seem to add up. So the building that the RV was targeting was one of the main AT&T hubs for all of the Southeast. So when the RV exploded, you couldn't call the police that were using AT&T phone lines. Any AT&T customers, their phones wouldn't work, and a lot of flights got delayed. So a lot of things ended up happening in effect to this bombing. But the weird thing is, before this RV exploded, there was a warning message for everyone to evacuate.
All buildings in this area must be evacuated now. All buildings in this area must be evacuated now.
So this just shows us that his motive wasn't to kill anybody. So then, what was his motive? So a lot of investigators actually ended up coming out and saying he had a lot of 5G paranoia and wanted to get rid of 5G in a whole. But then family members who knew him said he would never do such a thing, and he was never a violent person. So then what is going on? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. This is one of the most creepiest things that I have heard of in a while. So deepfakes, what are they? It's someone able to use AI to make someone do anything or say anything they'd want them to. Now recently in The Mandalorian, they did this this for Luke Skywalker. And don't get me wrong, it's pretty cool. But a lot of people started to take advantage of this and things started to get really dark. They would get some very dirty video and put someone else's face on there and start to blackmail them, saying they'd expose this video if they don't do something for them. And a lot of messed up people were using this for CP. But besides this, what if someone uses this on a president and then sends it to another country or nation, or someone sees it and then a whole war breaks out over something like this? And it's highly possible. I mean, it got so bad, even Obama started to talk about this.
Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet.
Nope, that wasn't Obama. That was Jordan Peele.
Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet.
See what I mean? So even though it's cool, there's always a dark side. What do you guys think about this? Do not watch this if you're easily scared. About 700 years ago, a castle was built in Czech. But this castle wasn't your normal castle. This castle had fake windows, no kitchen, no bedrooms, and no one ever lived there. Well, later on, people found out that this castle was built over a large hole, and some people call this the portal to hell. So they found out the villagers who were sentenced to death could actually be pardoned if they went down this hole. But right when he got down there, he started screaming. When he got pulled back up, the villagers said he aged 30 years, and that the things he saw down there were so disturbing that he killed himself 2 days later. Now in the modern era, people who go there say they could hear scratching coming from inside the walls and a chorus coming from beneath in the hole. But that hole is now covered up to keep whatever that is inside contained. Do not watch this if you want to sleep tonight. On Halloween night in 1992, the BBC aired an investigation of what is known as the most haunted house in Britain. And many people were left traumatized of what they saw. Here's that footage.
Don't touch me! Don't touch me!
Story goes is that a long time ago, an old man named Bill Wilkins lived in that house and he died from a hemorrhage. But he was very mad that this new family moved in. So he would haunt them, he would throw things at them, terrorize them, and then he ended up possessing the youngest daughter of the family. And he would speak through this daughter. Here's what he sounded like. And to make things even scarier, there were over 100 witnesses saying they saw the girl levitate, they saw chairs moving on their own. My next YouTube video will cover a lot of these hauntings. Click the link in my bio. I thought this was really absurd, but just hear me out, right? There was a massive footprint found in the side of a hill in Africa. And this footprint was 4 feet high. And the archaeologists who found this said it was in between 400 million and 3 billion years old. And this foot would belong to something 27 feet tall. But what's crazy about it is like when you step in mud, the mud comes up, right? Just like how it did when you could see like where the mud came up when this foot stepped in it. Then they found a giant finger in Egypt that was 38 centimeters long and should belong to something that is 16 feet tall. And I would also like to mention the fact that a bunch of these like cavemen and all these paintings have giants in them. So are giants real or just a myth? Let me know down in the comments. The first place we're going to talk about today is the Hauska Castle, otherwise known as the real life portal to hell. Located in Czech and built in the 13th century, it's known as one of the most haunted places on Earth. Now when you first look at this castle, it looks quite normal, right? Until you look a little closer and realize all the windows are fake. There's no water source, no kitchen, no bedrooms, no type of protection. You just look a little closer and realize nobody has ever lived there. Ever. So why the f was this big ass castle built? Well, I'm about to tell you. I would also like to mention the location of this castle was very weird. It was in the middle of a very thick forest. This theory will change your outlook on death. Now I did this theory before, but TikTok took it down, so here it is again. It is said that if you have a birthmark, that is how you died in your past life. So let's say you got stabbed in the stomach, well you have a birthmark on your stomach, or you got shot somewhere and you have a birthmark there. And the crazy thing is there seems to be some proof of this. In 2013, an old woman in Thailand died and wished to be reincarnated into a boy. Now before her death, her daughter actually dipped her finger in a white paste and marked her mom with it on the back of her neck. Now not long after the mother's death, the daughter actually gave birth to a boy who had a white birthmark on the back of his neck exactly where the daughter put it on her mother. What? That's not all though. Once the boy grew older, he started to remember things from the mom's life that he could no way know. So is reincarnation real? Let me know down in the comments. This theory might change on how you look at life. In 1992, a scientist known as Terence McKenna came up with a theory called the Stone Ape Theory. It states that these apes found magic mushrooms, they ate them, and it sped up the evolutionary process. Now I know this sounds crazy, but hear me out. Everyone in the science community made fun of McKenna for this and they just kind of brushed it off. That wasn't until about someone noticed 2 million years ago, the brain doubled in size just like that. But yet there was no explanation on why this happened. So is this how we got here? Let me know down in the comments below. Now I know this sounds crazy, but just hear me out. So the theory goes is that Hitler never killed himself and fled to Argentina after the war. FBI documents that were released stated that no American army official could locate Hitler's body, and there was no reliable source that proved that he was dead. So now people started to speculate that Hitler used these underground tunnels to go to an airport and flee to Argentina, where he would live out the rest of his days. To prove this even further, many researchers in Argentina are uncovering a bunch of these Nazi artifacts and even photos of Hitler himself. And upon these artifacts, they also discovered a lot of medicine that helps stomach pain. And according to the documents I showed you earlier, it was said Hitler had these stomach issues since he was a little kid. So what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. The World Could End, Part 1. Located in Wyoming, Yellowstone is one of the biggest volcanoes known to man. And if it explodes, it could mean the end of the world. So, what would happen if it did? The magma will be shot up into the sky, leading the ash to become these tiny particles of sharp rock that would just rain all over the US. But let's say you managed to survive that part, right? Now eventually you would breathe in the ash in the air and it would create this cement mixture in your lungs, causing you to suffocate. But let's say like you live in Europe and you survived all this too. Well, all the ash from the volcano would cover the sun and it would lead the earth to go into the next ice age, leading to no more crops, no fresh water sources, no type of survival. But luckily for us, it's not supposed to erupt for a while. Hopefully. So the butterfly effect is the idea that something so small can cause something massive. A good example of this is, let's say a butterfly flaps its wings in Tokyo, but that causes a tornado in Tennessee. But the easiest way to describe this is using dominoes. The small domino knocks down a slightly bigger domino, and then it just keeps knocking down bigger dominoes. So now let me ask you this. When did you do something in your life that was so small, but it led to this big, massive thing that you never imagined would happen? The most real-life example of the butterfly effect would be that guy that never made it into art school and killed like 4 million people. And that's the butterfly effect. This is a disturbing movie Iceberg Explained. Let's talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So if you didn't know already, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is loosely based off true events. The movie is about 2 kids who stumble upon an abandoned house, and while going in it, they meet someone named Leatherface. But what these kids didn't know is Leatherface kills people and uses their skin and bones for his furniture, clothes, and even his mask. Now the movie is based off the true events of Ed Gein. He would steal bodies from graveyards and use their bones as trophies. He had a human skull collection, a suit made from human skin, and his furniture was made out of human bones. And that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What if I told you Jesus had a wife and kids? So in 2014, a lost document was found that was over 1,500 years old that they called the Lost Gospel. And it said that Jesus got married and had 2 kids with a woman named Mary Magdalene. Though she's not mentioned in the Bible anywhere, there seems to be a lot of proof that she actually existed. First, in the painting The Last Supper, the girl to the left of Jesus is thought to be Mary. And coincidentally, she's the only woman in this painting. And if you notice, both Jesus and her are wearing the same exact thing, just flip-flopped. And then right between them, which seems to be the biggest space apart between anyone in the painting, it outlines a V. And V used to symbolize the womb and the reproductive organs of a woman. Is someone hinting that he had kids? Now guys, there's a lot more, so I'm gonna have to put this in 2 parts, so like for part 2.
Our missing woman, Maura Murray, crashed her car and disappeared 15 years ago.
That's it, that's so, oh my god. This mystery surrounds a man from Poland who seems to be getting haunted from a poltergeist. On March 14, 2015, he uploads a video of a still shot of his bedroom. 15 seconds in, a message pops up though that says, "After the last events, I installed cameras in a new place," followed by, "The results came a few days later. This time I had to first-hand experience to see what the camera was finding." Seems kinda spooky, doesn't it? 2 minutes into the video, you could hear something knocking on his door, and then he rushes and gets his camera to go investigate.
Kurwa, jeszcze nie teraz, jak w sobotę.
So with everything going on, a zombie apocalypse really wouldn't surprise any of us. But what would happen if one started tomorrow? For the first 3 weeks, nothing would really happen and there'd just be rumors of these zombies spreading. But as those rumors spread, all of New York would be infected in 24 hours and all the major cities to follow soon after that. On the 20th day, when many people actually start to get infected, the living would now realize that these rumors are true. First responders and medical personnel would be the first to go, and then many people would die in the riots of people trying to get food and water. Then for the next 2 months or so, the military would take over and try to preserve humanity, but they would be soon overrun too. And according to scientists, on the 100th day, there would be less than 200 survivors left. So would you survive a zombie apocalypse? Let me know down in the comments. This TikToker killed her sister. Claire Miller, a 14-year-old girl from Pennsylvania, called the police at 1 a.m. telling them she killed her sister. That sister's name was Helen. She had cerebral palsy, which left her in a wheelchair. Police arrived at Claire's house and found her outside washing blood off of her clothes. Claire took the police into Helen's room and the police found Helen laying on the bed with a knife still stuck in her neck. The parents were asleep during all of this and Claire will be charged as an adult. This is a disturbing movie iceberg explained. Let's start off with Annabelle. In 1970, 2 nurses were gifted a Raggedy Ann doll by one of the nurses' mom. Everything was fine for a couple of weeks until some strange and dark things started to happen. The nurse, Donna, would put the doll on the couch, leave the house, then come home to the doll sitting on her bed. And to make things scarier, Donna found these little pieces of paper with "Help Me" written in crayon on them. But both nurses claimed it wasn't them. So one night, the roommate of Donna had a dream that Annabelle killed them. She got so scared that she picked up Annabelle and threw her across the room. Well, this is when supposedly the nurse had 3 slash marks appear on her chest. So finally, they contacted famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed and Lorraine said this doll was possessed by an inhuman spirit and they needed to take it immediately. Knowing how evil the doll was, Ed and Lorraine enclosed it in the now famous Annabelle case. So the theory goes is that there is a 9th planet deep in our solar system that could collide with Earth. In 1995, a girl named Nancy Leader claimed that she had contact with aliens and they warned her about this planet's collision with Earth. And it wasn't until 20 years later in 2015 that NASA had evidence of this planet X. And now these aliens that are obviously credible told Nancy that this was supposed to happen in the 21st century, which, if you didn't know, we're in. So now what would happen if this theory came true? Well, to be honest, we wouldn't know until it was too late. And once it collided with Earth, well, I think we would all know what would happen next. What if I told you I am you and you are me? Now, I know that sounds crazy, but just hear me out. There is a theory known as the egg theory. And the theory states that you are everyone who has ever lived and will ever live in this world. So the way this works is that every time you die, you get reincarnated and then you turn into another person. So in this life, I could be me, but in my next life, I could be like Drake or my mom or somebody. And everything you learned in your past life comes to you in your next life. So what if this is why some people are so good at, let's say, math, but some people suck at it? It's because those people learned math in their past life. Does that make sense? Now, after being reincarnated over so many times, you eventually know everything and become your own god. And that is the egg theory. What if I told you guys I had more proof of giants? Now, you might call me crazy, but just hear me out. So this theory blew up when people started to notice that mountains and tree stumps look the exact same, just different sizes. Here are some tree stumps and mountains side by side. Yeah. You see what I mean? They look identical. So a lot of people started to think that these mountains were just very old tree stumps. But then 1,000,000 years ago, something wiped all the giants out, all these trees out, the giant bugs and plants, and that could be the meteor that wiped the dinosaurs out. Now you could say, well, MJ, it's the mountain, you're right. Well, like I just mentioned, a long time ago, they were giant snakes, they were mammoths, everything was giant. So this theory kind of makes sense. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. Did we find actual proof of the back rooms? So someone found this address, 6 Main Street, Ogdensburg, New York. Now, when you look up this address, you come across an abandoned warehouse that was owned by a company called Surtech. And many people believe this is where this famous backroom photo was taken. Now, I want to go visit, sneak into this place, and explore it. So if this video gets 100,000 likes, I will buy my plane ticket right away. This would be insane, Squatski.